Today's guest is someone that I've had the privilege of working with for a couple of years, someone who has a lot of insights to share about how organizations are integrating AI into their ways of working, who has a front row seat to what many vendors in the HR space are doing, how they're integrating AI capabilities into their platforms, into their services. But most importantly, she's a beautiful human being who I love having conversations with. So thank you, Tara Cooper, better known as Coop. Thank you so much for saying yes to this conversation.
Oh my gosh, of course, Adriana. I am so excited to be here. This is an important platform to get women involved in the AI conversation.
Coop, for the people who don't know you, can you share a bit about yourself, what you do, and what are the things that you love doing, so our audience can get to know you better?
Yes. So I have been in the HR tech space for almost 20 years now. I fell into it like a lot of people in this space, but I ultimately got addicted to startup technologies in HR, where they were disrupting what was being done. So I am very proud to say I was an early stage employee at HireVue, at Smashfly, at Beamery, and a lot of the other startup technology brands that you might recognize in the space. So I spend a lot of time helping them with go-to-market strategy and sales and marketing and customer success and all of those fun things. And that's ultimately what led me to my current role here at Mercer, where I lead our HR tech analyst practice. So I like to say that I probably have the best job in the world. I am paid to nerd out on technology. Who doesn't want to do that? So I actually work with our enterprise clients who are trying to navigate the HR tech landscape, and I try to help them figure out what's happening and get their pulse on what is the right move for them to make in terms of their digital strategy. I also work with the vendors in the space. You mentioned I get a front row seat to a lot of what they're building. So I spend a lot of my time in the analyst room understanding what the tech is doing in real life, how it is changing and evolving, and how it's meeting customers in new ways. And then I also get to lead our primary research around HR technology to really dive into things like how HR technology impacts the employees that have to use it. So there's a lot that I get to do, but all of it centers around technology and, more importantly, the people that yield it.
I love what you said, that you get to do what you love and that you feel like you have the best job in the world. I love that for you, and I want that for more people. There's so much that you could be sharing with us today, and from your role, the work that you're doing with organizations, what you're hearing from vendors. For this conversation, giving our audience, what are the problems that you're solving with AI? The reason why Leorimar and I created this space was because we felt like we didn't have a space where women could share their stories of how we're using AI. And frankly, I have really noticed that women do have a different perspective on AI, a different perspective in terms of the opportunity, but also the risk.
I think the biggest thing that I see organizations doing is exactly what you just said. They're trying to figure out what others are doing. They're trying to find their inspiration for how to do things right. And I think, AI, it's a very powerful tool. It is just a technology. I do want to emphasize it isn't just another tool, and we need to treat it as such. It is not human. It can never replace an actual human being, but it is very powerful and it can do a lot of things. And I think when I take a look at the organizations that I'm having conversations with every day, they're trying to draw that same inspiration for how do we create a better world with this? And I would say the ones that are doing it right are the ones that understand that investing in technology means investing in people.
Mm.
I think we see the headlines all the time of, headcount being cut so that we can invest in AI. That is a very short term and narrow view of the world to use AI to cut costs. First of all, that is a one-time exercise. You don't get any gains after you cut. There is no more additional gain from that. You get that one-time cut. And that may be what you need for your bottom line that quarter, but what about next quarter and the quarter thereafter? And I think what we're finding in the research and all of the data that's coming in is the organizations that took a beat to build the resilience inside of their organization and actually understand that people are the ones that will yield the technology and get us the results, they're the ones that are really coming out ahead. They're the ones that are actually able to change how things work, and they have the participation of their people at the same time. This to me is very much a moment for leadership to step up, to start to create a vision for what comes next, to not just say that the work is changing, but to say, this is what that means for you. This is what the future might look like for you, and help people envision what a future could look like with AI instead of a future where AI replaces them. And I think that's the biggest thing that, especially as women, we need to be protective of. It is roles that are going to be disrupted that are that are going to impact women the most. We're holding those roles that are going to be the most impacted. We are the ones that are going to feel the pain when decisions are made. And I think this is one of the biggest things that we could do in an organization is step up to protect the humanity that we have. We know that power comes from people yielding the AI in new ways, using it to reinvent the work, finding new ways to connect with other people. That's really the goal of AI. It's to make the human connection side better. We do have the risk of losing that and creating a totally different future that disconnects us. So I think that it's very important for us to think about what our role is, how this is going to impact us, and use our voice. This is the most important time for us to use our voice and help to create a culture inside of our organizations that values the human side of this, the human agency that needs to come with driving technology agency inside your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us to have a role to play in deciding where we go with this technology, we need to be curious and start using it, right? So uh, that is why I think these conversations are really valuable to get people curious. I don't know about you, but when I've started using it and you have to make decisions of like, wait, how much do I share? Am I okay to give it access to my calendar? What about my files? Lately, I've been confronted with, just because you can, it doesn't mean that you should, right? And we all have different tolerance to risk, right? That's fine, but really pushing yourself to try it, to allow those questions to come up, um, and trust yourself and what are your boundaries. I think that is really important. I think that a lot of the challenges and questions that come up when you're using AI for personal use cases are questions that organizations are asking as well, right? Like, where do we draw the line? Like, what is my role versus the role of AI? So I really think that by having women, in this case, embrace AI on a personal level, start experimenting, it really gives them um, also the credibility that they need at work to say, hey, hold on a second, why are we even going that route? Just because the technology can't do it, it doesn't mean that we should. Or how does that align to our vision as a company? Right?
I think you brought up the most important question that we should be asking, which is not can we, but should we? What should we be doing with it? And when I think to my own journey with AI, I mean, I work in this space, so there's a lot of pressure to try all the new things, be knowledgeable about them. Obviously, that's part of my job. But when I first started using AI, I was very curious, and I kind of was in experimental mode. I was testing the limits and the boundaries and finding out what worked well and what didn't. And I tried a bunch of things that I probably wouldn't try again, knowing what I know now. That's a
Right.
very natural, normal place to be in. But once I got a feel for it, and once I learned how expensive tokens are, by the way, that made me change how I interacted with it. And I moved from thinking about this as like a short kind of, I'm going to type in this little prompt and I'm going to get what I need. I started to think about this as a context engine. So I moved from typing to voice. That was a huge move for me, to start to move into a model where I could really just brain dump everything that was in my head, all of the context, all of the information. And that seems counterintuitive, but AI does so well. The more information you get it, the better your results are. And I ended up iterating a lot less. I ended up not having to mess around with all of those, let's revise this little piece here and this little piece here. And the reason I say that is this is important for how we think about the way that people approach this as well. When we give people this greater context and this greater information and more insight into why we're doing what we're doing, they also produce greater results. So when I think about how my relationship with AI has changed to give AI more agency, understand where I can trust it with information, where I shouldn't as well, that's also important. And also understanding where its gaps are, where it's going to hallucinate, when it's going to, make mistakes that I need to correct and use my judgment for. Those are all things that really reflect traits that we need to be building in ourselves on the human side. Think about if you had a workforce that knew more about why they were doing what they were doing, what the end result was and what the impact was. How would they use the tools differently? So I absolutely agree. When we think about using this in our personal lives, a lot of this is experimentation and learning what works and learning what to trust and what not to trust. But it gives us a lot of lessons for how we then show up and what we demand in the workplace, especially in a workplace that is asking us to work alongside AI. Well, if we're going to do that, we have to take all of those learnings that we have from our personal experience with AI and say, wait, we need to do this intentionally and thoughtfully. It replaces some elements of the work, but not all of it. And it increases the need for more human skills like discernment, like contextual reasoning. Those are pieces that AI is not good at yet. And so my experience has been that as I've gone through this journey and I've gotten smarter in how to use it and how to get better results from it, it has also opened up a world of what if we gave this same kind of thought and attention to our actual workforce to
Yes.
unlock what's amazing in them, right? This goes back to what I said at the beginning. We should be investing just as much in our people as we are in the technology. And my own experience has shown me that for sure.
Absolutely. Can you walk us through a problem that you're solving today?
So the main use case that I have is to scale the work that I do on the research front. I am asked to do a lot of research around what's happening in the market, and that includes both primary research that I direct myself, so going out and running surveys and interviews and things like that to gain information. And it's also understanding the existing research that already lives out in the universe and synthesizing that down to better understand the problem and the possible solutions out there, and then forming my point of view. So the pieces that I use AI for the most are those elements that do help me scale. So going out and individually searching for each research paper, not very effective, but asking AI to go and curate, like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Again, giving a lot of context to say, this is what I am researching, and these are my hypotheses, and this is what I want to test, and this is the data I'm looking for. That's usually where I start. My favorite model is Claude. However, I do like to play the models off of one another as well, especially when it comes to data and research, to see if they're finding the same things. And most importantly, you never trust what it spits out. I've done a
Right.
lot of training with my models to tell them what is acceptable and what is not. Here are good sources. Here are sources I never want to see. Here's how you make sure that these sources aren't just marketing fluff, but are real, actual, tangible results from data and research that's been done. So I love to use AI to help me get all of that together. I love to use AI to take all of the ideas that I have after I've read through that research or consumed it, help me put my ideas, my hypotheses into an outline or something that makes sense. I tend to get a lot of different ideas that go down different tangents. Put this into something that is something I could actually work from. I use it a lot to help me sharpen my thinking. So here's my hypothesis. What have I missed? Where am I going to get challenged? Where are the holes that would be poked in this? And then as I start to create this and pull this together, how about we visualize a new way of working or the solution to this problem? So I'm really using it in every facet I can to amplify what I am doing. Now, very importantly, what I am not doing is I am not asking it to come up with my ideas. I am not trusting its judgment right out of the gate. It doesn't have good judgment. It's not a human. That's my job. So I spend a lot more of my time now not doing necessarily the outline drafting or the writing or gathering the research, but doing a lot more thinking about what the point of view should be, testing it out, doing a lot more pressure testing that I couldn't have done before to get to a better end conclusion that I eventually deliver to the market. And it might help me create the visual deck that accompanies that and some of the other pieces that's not the best use of my time. The ideas are mine. I may not be the best designer to bring those to life. The ideas are mine, but I may not have the best way to unjumble those into a cohesive narrative right out of the gate. That's where AI can come in and be a superpower assistant, but it comes from a lot of training and guidance and guardrails that you put around it, around what to produce, what not to produce. And even then, you do still occasionally run into your AI telling you that it uploaded a file that simply doesn't exist. So it's having that human judgment in loop that really makes the difference to getting good results from it. You can never just take what AI tells you, whether it's a personal question or a professional one. You always have to vet that this is real.
Absolutely. No, that definitely resonates with me. What you said about training, can you tell me more about what that looks like? I've made the transition to Claude. I mean, I use different tools, right? From Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, as you said, the thinking of token use, like you realize I'm using each tool for different things, but my primary is Claude. And I have all of these projects when I'm giving detailed instructions, samples of the output I want, the sources that I trust, even frameworks that I use. Um, I have all of the details. Can you tell me more about like what type of instructions you're giving to give our audience an idea of really when we say training the tool, what we mean?
Yes, yes. And this is the part that it does take some time and it's never perfect. You're always training your model. But I think taking some time when you first get started to get some basics down is really helpful to getting to your end results faster without all of the iteration I talked about before. One of the things that I did is when I moved to Claude, I downloaded my memory from ChatGPT, which was the original model I was using, and I uploaded it to Claude to train it on the things that I ask about. Here are the topics that are relevant to me and the things that I engage you should expect me to engage you with. I also, and you could do this in a markdown file, or you can just write to your model as well if it's simpler that way. But I essentially gave it a profile of who I am. This is who I am. This is what I do. These are the things that I'm interested in. Um, this is how I like to interact. This is how I like to be challenged. Here's how I like my communications to show up. So I've done my best to train it not to use all of the M dashes and it's not this, but that, because those are very annoying. And that's not what I want you to produce to me. And that's not what I want to read, nor do my the people that consume my research, that's not what they want to read either. So training it to tell it what I like, what I don't like. The other thing for me that's really big is around sources. There's a lot of information on the internet. That is what Claude is trained on, the entirety of the internet. 90% of that is not useful to me. Right? I need it to focus on the sources that are valid, that come with real numbers, real data, real client stories, things like that. And so I have given it a curated list of these are the sources that I rely on most. Only use sources like this. Always bring me your sources to cite so I can easily check them. And that way, as I'm working with AI, it's working the way that I work. It is understanding what I want, what I don't want. Don't go long and give me, a 3-page narrative on a simple question that I asked. Give me a yes, no response. So I encourage people to be very direct with your model. If you're getting something that you don't like, you can train that away. So be aware of what you're getting that you're like, oh, I hate fixing this every time it comes out. Stop fixing it, go back and train your model. Say, I never want to see this again. Commit this to your memory. That's another key phrase to tell Claude to put this in your memory, and it will read that to your profile and say, this is something that Tara likes or doesn't like, and it will apply it to future conversations. So getting the model to understand you, it does take some time, but if you put the thought into it, the time, the attention, it ends up saving you a ton of time and energy and frustration down the road because you're getting what you actually want.
It takes some time, but once you get there, I created my executive assistant. I'm in need for AI to help me manage my calendar and everything, right? And it has taken some time to build the instructions to say, okay, let's take a step back. What am I trying to achieve? What is the type of interaction that I want to have? And what I ended up doing was I use the instructions more as a job description,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I created an onboarding guide, which includes um, all of my preferences, right? From my schedule, when I take calls, when I don't, what is my protected time, all of these things. So that has taken definitely time, but once you get there, then it's just quickly you get everything you need and really opens up your time to dedicate it to the things that you actually want to do.
It's similar though, when you describe it that way, it's very similar to training someone that you work
Exactly.
with. Like it's just like the AI is working for a new boss. They're getting to know that new boss. What are their preferences? Oh, they don't like cream in their coffee. I won't put that in next time. Right? And it's very similar to working with a new colleague, a new supervisor, anyone like that. You start to learn how they work and you work with them. Your AI is doing the same thing, but you do have to take the time to give it that context. It doesn't just know. And the more you feed it, the better that becomes. Again, I'll say that is true of our human workforce as well. The more you give them, the more you will receive. So just some lessons for those of you that run businesses as well, like give to those employees and they give back. Give them more context, give them more transparency, help them understand why what they're doing impacts what you're doing and what's happening to the business. All of this stuff that we're doing with AI is such a great life lesson for how we should lead people as well and be better to them, give them more of what they need to get more of the outputs that we want as a business.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Coop, if there was one thing that you wanted to share with women when it comes to using AI, what would it be?
My one piece of advice, it is a warning.
Mm.
Don't be intimidated to get started. I talk with so many women that think AI won't apply to them, that it's not important to them, that it's not something that they should be involved in. It will impact you. It will impact every single one of us at some point. And being prepared is your best defense. And that means knowing it, just avoiding it. And listen, I know that there are a lot of questions around its impact to our world. And those are all very valid questions around its impact to the environment, how our kids are learning. All of these questions are very valid questions. And I think it's a natural response to say, I'm just going to push back on AI and I'm not going to be a part of it because there's this negativity associated with it. But that's exactly why it is so important for women's voices to be in this conversation. We are creating the future with AI. And without women's voices in the room, our point of view gets excluded and these tools will be built for us, not with us. And that will lead to these negative consequences. But when you put yourself in the equation and you become an active user and an active consumer, you suddenly yield power to tell those that are building these tools how you want them to be built, what they should do and what they shouldn't do, which is even more important. And that is something that we need female voices in, to be pushing for AI use that serves us and doesn't punish us. That is huge. My second one, which is a little bit of a hack, please go to voice. Use your voice to text. It is the most game changing thing you will do with AI. It will unlock so much more potential. Don't be afraid to ramble. This is like the best listener, ladies. This is the best listener out there. It will listen to you ramble for 20 minutes straight and not interrupt you once. It is beautiful and it will produce better results because you gave it all the information. So voice to text is my hack, but my advice is get in the game, learn about it, use it for you, use it for ways that benefit you, and then vocalize that to the rest of the community.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Coop, for your time, for sharing your experience, for that warning. Voice to text has been a game changer for me. So absolutely, please try it. And for all of our listeners, if this resonated with you, please send it to a woman in your life. This is how this grows. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode.